Hello, everyone. My name is Stacy Lake, and I'm running for Jackson County Executive this year, which the election is tomorrow, Tuesday. The polls are going to be open from 6 a.m., closing at 5 p.m. And I wanted to come on live stream today just to say we've made it. This is the day before the election. It was a very uh uh I don't know how to say it because I don't want to say tough. It was difficult, but I don't want the negative connotations associated with difficult. But this race revealed a lot about Jackson County to me and why the current state of Jackson County is the way that it is, and why it's so important that we have correct leaders in power. Because right now, oh, we've been historically disserviced by our leaders, and this is a fact that I've been attesting to, and I know a lot of people on my page uh, already agree with me that the current Frank White administration has a lot of unfavorables with it. There needs to be a lot of change, and hopefully tomorrow the community will come out and decide that we want a different direction in Jackson County, because Jackson County is in a really bad shape, folks. And I've discussed this in my videos on the audit of Jackson County, on the crime. I apologize for not coming out with the jail video. I was extremely busy. But there's an opportunity here that in the next 4 years, we will see immense change in the Jackson County government. If I'm elected as Jackson County executive, I will audit the Jackson County government. I will ensure that our buildings are fixed. And I will also protect our residents so another property tax crisis won't ever happen again, and look for future initiatives like the neighbor to neighbor transportation system that will connect all municipalities together. Also, I want to say if you have any questions for me, just make a comment and I can take the questions up. But I just wanted to first give thanks to my husband, who, without my husband, Brian, this campaign would have never existed. He has been 100% supportive, uh, never has doubted me in this entire campaign. And there is not enough money in this world that I could give to Brian to repay him for everything that he has done on this campaign. He is just as passionate about changing Jackson County as I am. And I want to say thank you so much, Brian, for being there for me always. There's other people in my campaign that have been immense contributors. Um, and I'm probably going to miss several people here, but I just want to thank Jim Glover has been immensely helpful. Um, uh, Cecilia Newby was immensely helpful as well. Christine Taylor Butler, um, Angie Splitzgerber. She probably doesn't want me to say her name, but she's always been a dear friend to me, always been a great supporter. The people out in Volker, Denise, Glenn, very, very helpful. And I cannot forget Charlie Leona. He has been one of my greatest supporters and like we honestly have a good friendship right now. But these are all people, and there's a lot of other people too. And tomorrow, no matter what the results are, I'm going to go live tomorrow too, and I'm going to have a list going over everyone. But so many people in our community right now, they want a change in the way that our government works. It's hard being an it's hard living in Jackson County, seeing how much opportunity there is to make our county a better place, and seeing every opportunity wasted. And so I really hope that the community will come out strong tomorrow and vote for that change that we need, because in the next 4 years, So many great things can happen just on the county level if we have a change in leadership. And also, I want to go over my disappointment with Frank White, not only as uh not only just during his tenure with the scandals, the property tax crisis, and the alleged corruption. I'm using alleged now, but the alleged corruption uh, that potentially occurred under his tenure, but also the way that he's been completely absent from this campaign. He hasn't gone to any of the associations. He hasn't really made any speeches. He hasn't done anything. And that's because he feels like he doesn't have to do anything in this race. He doesn't have to promise you anything. That's his mindset, which is crazy. And that's why we need more people out there to not only run for political office that actually care about this county, that actually have ideas that they want to see utilized, actually have the courage to campaign on those ideas, to be challenged on those ideas, and to implement those ideas once elected into office, but also everyone should be more involved into politics, because if we're not privy, engaged, um, educated about our candidates, things like the property tax crisis of 2019, they're just going to happen again, folks. And I'm guilty of that. Like, I'm extremely guilty of that. I didn't understand the level of involvement that the Jackson County government had until the property tax crisis. And the only good thing that's has come out from that property tax crisis is that it inspired me to run and to actually go out into the community and talk to the community, which my whole entire campaign has been a blessing in a way, because my favorite thing in the campaign is to go out and speak to the people, speak to the media about my ideas, be challenged on my ideas as a back and forth. That's the thing that I enjoy the most. Of course, there's other things that go on the campaign that I really don't like, but talking to the people is one of the greatest joys that I actually do. And I want to say thank you to all the neighborhood organizations and the organizations that invited me to their associations slash organizations to speak to their people as well. Because if it wasn't for those organizations, my voice, my campaign wouldn't uh, be where it is today. And I'm eternally grateful for that. But we also have to think about the fact that Frank White's not doing these things. He's not going out into the community. He's not talking to the people. And he hasn't even talked to the community about the property tax crisis or the poor auditing or the jail, right? And that should really disturb everyone, because if we have a leader who is unwilling to be held accountable or to be challenged to his ideas or his decisions, then I mean, I, there's a word that I don't want to use, but it's it's just kind of having like kind of like the Wizard of Oz, where you have the man behind the curtain who really doesn't do anything, but he has this uh, image to the county, but he really doesn't do anything. And that's not what we want as a leader. We want a leader that not only will work hard for our community, but will push the community to modernize for the future. And that's what I will bring. So quickly, I'm going to go through my Jackson plan, and then I will take any questions that anyone has. And tomorrow is going to be a very long day for me. So I'm going to end this broadcast early to prepare for an early awakening to go to the poll sites. But let's talk about the future of Jackson, okay, in the Jackson plan, which let's first talk about justice system reformation, right? In Missouri, our state has one of the highest crime rates in the United States. We have three the one of the like in I believe I read an article that says in the top 50 cities, there's three that are in Missouri for the highest crime, which is St. Louis, Columbia, and Kansas City, right? Which shouldn't have happened. And as I stated in the prior podcast about the justice about crime in Jackson County, murders have gone up 30%, motor vehicle thefts have gone up 32%, violent crimes have gone up 3.6%. And this is after we've been increasing money to our law enforcement budget every single year. It's not the fact that we don't have the money to reduce crime. It's the fact that the methods that we are using are inefficient and needs to change. But if we have leadership in there that are still pushing the same methods, we're only going to get the same result, which the statistics speak for itself. That's why in justice system reformation, I approach reducing crime by a three-pronged method of modernization, laborism, and legalism. Modernization means investing in our policing technologies, meaning, like, for instance, our 911 call center has been historically underutilized and underfunded. Many people, for instance, will call 911 on Tuesday and not even be able to receive an operator, right? That's unacceptable, but it can be changed under good leadership, especially as a Jackson County executive. I can change that because uh, the 911 call center, at least in the unincorporated areas, is under the Jackson County executive. But it's also investing in policing infrastructures that help to support police into solving crimes. Next, we look at laborism, which the number one statistic to solve or to reduce crimes in an area is jobs. This is an international statistic that shows that prior offenders are 87% less likely to commit a crime in their lifetime if they have meaningful work, folks. That means if they have a job which makes them able to afford a house and some level of savings, they're 87% less likely to ever commit another crime. I was talking to a colleague a couple of weeks ago, and he told me, and I'm saying he told me because I haven't verified the statistic, but I believe that is true, especially with his position, that in the part of the city east of Troost, their unemployment rate there is 30%, folks. 30%, allegedly, potentially. But if that's true, like, no wonder there's so much crime. Think about if Leawood had a 30% unemployment rate. You think that they would still have the same levels of crime if in Leawood they had a 30% unemployment rate? That's why we need to focus on creating jobs and investing in our residents to ensure that they have access to meaningful jobs, because if that happens, it will reduce crime. And finally, legalism, and this is something, of course, I'm always excited about being an attorney, is that we could solve or reduce a lot of crimes just by changing the law. Catalytic converters, for instance, I state that we could uh, reduce the amount of catalytic converters stolen in Jackson County if we don't go after the person that's selling the catalytic converter, but go after the person that's making the profits from the catalytic converter. And especially if we're able to lobby the state of Missouri to change the catalytic converter law so that attorney's fees are damaged in a case against the chop shops that are selling and making millions of dollars in Jackson County, and the police officers know which chop shops these are. If we allow attorneys to go after them, I swear to you, no, there's going to be no chop shop in Jackson going to take a questionable catalytic converter. There's going to be signs up everywhere saying, hey, have you had a catalytic converter stolen? And that will make it so that other counties and other states will implement these types of laws so that the catalytic converter situation will be resolved. These are policies that make it so that we're thinking smart. I mean, that we're working smarter and not harder, folks. Auditing Jackson County government. This is something I've been campaigning hard this whole entire campaign season about. And if you follow me, we already know the statistics. Jackson County has been underutilized / they did not account for over $100 million for years due to financial negligence, right? When it comes to Frank White specifically, over the past from 2017 to 2018, he made over 2,000 administrative transfers from Jackson County government, which totaled up to $10 million. And one of the administrative transfers was literally to help buy Caleb Clifford a luxury vehicle, folks. These are the people that we have in power right now. But this is what, besides the accounting error of $100 million, which of course is like, how does that happen, folks? This is what people should be mad about. After Nicole Galloway gave Jackson County government a poor rating, you would think that they would go and hire a person to do a deep audit, maybe change their director of finance, get a new chief administrative officer, something of that nature. But in fact, they did nothing. Nothing. The chief administrative officer, his name is Ed Stoll. He fired a person, or sorry, not Ed Stoll. I'm sorry, I want to get this. Yeah, it was Ed Stoll. Ed Stoll, and I could be mixing it, but I'm pretty sure Ed Stoll, he fired a person in the financial department whose name was Scott Jacoby. You can look this up on Google, right? He was a person who worked in the finance department, and the reason why he fired him was because Scott Jacoby refused to use our anti-crime tax money to purchase a car for the chief of staff. He refused to follow Frank White's order to use our anti-crime tax money to purchase this vehicle because he didn't want to break a law. And Ed Stoll fired him for that, okay? Scott Jacoby, of course, sues Jackson County government. They settle out of court for $770,000. This is all proven. You can go on Google right now and read through it, folks. It's all there. So the question is what happened to Ed Stoll? Ed Stoll was following, of course. He had to be following Frank White's directive, right? So what happened to him? Did Frank White fire him for helping him commit this illegal act? Ed Stoll retired. And now he's on the BOE, the Board of Equalization. That's why this election is so important. So if we have another property tax crisis in 2023, one of the BOE members is literally a person who fired a person for not committing or for refusing to commit an illegal act. This is why this election is so important. But also, nothing else was changed. We didn't get a new county auditor. The accounting firm that we use in order to look through our departments for financial compliance is still the same. They're still writing the same reports saying that we have financial excellence. And our director of finance, Bob Kutsinger, is still the same he's still there. Nothing was changed. So we don't even know if anything was done after Nicole Galloway's report. Which should trouble everyone. Let me go to countywide infrastructure improvements because I can literally talk about the audit of Jackson County for 30 minutes. But let me go to countywide infrastructure improvements. We all know that our county buildings are crumbling. Last year, our Jackson County courthouse literally had tubes running through it to pump AC because for decades, and I'm sorry, I'm talking too close to the mics, but for decades, everyone in the courthouse, including the attorneys who go there, we know that Jackson County Courthouse has terrible AC. We know that the pipes are broken and malfunctioning and leaking everywhere. And there's a mold issue in Jackson County Courthouse that that a lot of people are aware of, right? But who controls the maintenance of Jackson County? It's the county executive. So if the county executive isn't focused on maintenance, then nothing is going to be done, folks. And that's how it is in Jackson County with not only just the courthouse, but with our buildings. I always tell people Jackson County is kind of like the tale of two cities, right? You have City Hall on one side and you have the courthouse on the other side, right? If you walk into the courthouse and see everything that they have, right, then you come over to Jackson County. It's two different stories of maintenance. And it's really just because of the leadership, and that's why we have to change. But also under countywide infrastructure improvements, the jail, right? We did, or when I say we, I shouldn't say we. The Jackson County government has done an immense disservice to its residents when it comes to the jail. We should have had a new jail since the 80s, but we've been prolonging that for decades. And then just within the last 5 years, when we're like, okay, let's actually buy the land for this new jail, we then spend over $7 million to purchase a jail site that's in a historic floodplain. A historic floodplain that will need to put a lot of like millions of dollars just to buy topsoil to make it not a floodplain anymore. We had over 15 other sites that we could have chose to put this jail in, but we chose the historic floodplain to build a $300 million jail that's supposed to allow us to, we're supposed to use for the next 100 years. This is our leadership, folks. And that's why, as Jackson County executive, I will change it. I will change the direction that our current administration is going, and it has to be changed. Keeping taxes and utilities affordable, the property tax crisis. As Jackson County executive, another property tax crisis will not happen again, and I will ensure that. In the county charter, a lot of I'm gonna go over what a lot of Frank White supporters, which when I say Frank White supporters, I mean the few that I've talked to have their defense of the property tax crisis is they say that, oh, the state told them to increase taxes and Frank White couldn't do anything. That's a lie, folks. While there might have been discussions at the state level to increase taxes, the state did not mean to increase people's taxes by 50, 100, 300, 500, 1,000%. That's a fact. And the whole property tax crisis was handled so poorly. I heard and read about how 1,100 people since 2019 lost their homes. And one of the biggest disservices that the media has done is they haven't connected the property tax crisis to the increase of homelessness in Jackson County, which is another conversation for another time. But I can tell you one person that's not thinking about that, which is Frank White. Under my policy for keeping taxes and utilities affordable, I do propose lobbying the Missouri state government to have a property tax cap put on Jackson County. This property tax cap will protect our residents, especially our residents on fixed incomes, from never experiencing such immense and outrageous property tax increases ever again. And it's something that I know that I can do because a lot of members in the Missouri state legislature agree with property tax caps. And it's something that if we just have leadership, we can actually achieve. Next is small business rejuvenation, which is also a huge passion of mine. Small businesses, I believe, brings the culture and the uniqueness to our community. We have to build up our number of small businesses in Jackson County, and we need to support our small businesses in Jackson County. And that's why, with my small business rejuvenation initiative, I propose that we have a small business fund that's specifically dedicated to giving grants to not only people who want to create a small business in Jackson County, but are unable to get loans due to several issues, but also to help out our small business owners when they face some cataclysmic event like a shattered storefront glass. I believe that the county should be there to help our small businesses, especially when they provide, when it comes to percentages, the majority of jobs, the majority of revenues in our county. And I want to give a statistic to you guys, which should make everyone question our leadership in Jackson County. Okay. So, Jackson County's budget this year is $452 million. Can you guys guess what Johnson County government's budget is? $1.4 billion. $1.4 billion. We are losing this race, folks, and it's not because Johnson County has higher property tax revenues and whatnot. It's because Johnson County actually supports their businesses and investments in their area. We are losing this race. And when I say this race, I mean race towards modernization and the race of competitiveness in our county. But we're still running. We can still win under a change of leadership. And one of the ways to win is we need to support our small businesses. I can, I should do a podcast just about small businesses, but look, if we look at other places, other cities, there's like in Blue Springs, the old downtown is dead. Not the new downtown in Blue Springs, but the old downtown in Blue Springs is dead. The Raytown the original downtown is dead too. Independence as well. Like, we need to start investing in these communities, because once we invest in these small businesses, it will create a renaissance. And I'm not just even talking about giving grants to small businesses, but also trying to bring in businesses to Jackson County that will increase small businesses here. One of the things I like to talk about is missed opportunities that we've had as a county and as a state. For instance, the federal government, they had they told everyone, and when I say everyone, I'm talking about the United States, like the leaders of each state. They're like, hey, we have a $52 billion grant that we're willing to give to any state if they come with a plan to put a semiconductor in their area, right? Think about that. We could have had a semiconductor here if we had focus and initiative to bring that into Jackson County. If we had a semiconductor plant in Jackson County, do you know how many jobs that would have created? Do you know how many small businesses that would have been established here just because of the accessibility of cheap semiconductor chips here? Do you think anybody in Jackson County or Kansas City actually tried to get a part of that grant? Did you even know about that grant? Because me putting that out there, that shows that they didn't, right? Everyone knows about Amazon. Sly James pushed Amazon to come, for better or for worse, right? But what about the semiconductor plant? Missed opportunities like this is going to make us fail in the long run, and we really need to not overstep opportunities that would make us competitive in the future. Because if we continue doing this, It's just going to get worse here, folks. Ownership initiative for single family households is my promise to the residents that I will create grant opportunities. Well, not necessarily grant opportunities, but tax breaks to residents if they do positive things to their houses. Like, for instance, I think that the Jackson County government should support um, homeowners if they want, for instance, a retaining wall, repainting their house, establishing a new roof. These are things that promote equity in our areas, right? And that Jackson County government should give initiatives for homeowners to do this through tax breaks, saying, hey, if you get a retaining wall, you can qualify for this tax break on your taxes, because that will promote people to actually invest in their homes, which, because of the property tax crisis, I'm just going to keep it real. I'm not talking about myself, but there's a lot of people in the community that are de-investing in their homes because they're scared of their property taxes going up by 100, 300, 500% due to what happened in 2019. And that's not good for the future of our county. But also for ownership initiative for single family households, I will protect our single family households. I will protect our residents. I mean, our not only our residents, but our neighborhoods that are right now losing the battle just to have a community, because there's multiple or numerous outside corporate buyers coming in and buying large amounts of our single family houses right now that no politician is talking about. And as Jackson County executive, I will do everything in my power to stifle that practice and protect our communities. And finally, we're now to neighbor transportation plan, which is my promise to establish the first countywide public transportation system. A lot of people that know me personally know that one of my passions is public transit. When I lived in Taipei, Taiwan, they have one of the world-class public transportation systems there. The average person in Taiwan owns 0.5 of a vehicle, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I don't think that a person should have to own a car in order to work. And we need to invest in our public transportation system. I propose creating a Jackson County public transportation department, and the way that I propose the first public transportation system, it would be a rapid bus transit line. So a lot of people have been talking to me saying, oh, what about KCATA? What about KCATA? And I'm just like, look, this is its own thing. We're not talking about intracity transit, which is transit within the city. We're talking about intercity transit, which is from city to city. I want to make it so that you can go from Kansas City all the way to Lone Jack faster by taking the public transportation system than by utilizing your vehicle. And these are initiatives that should have been established decades ago. And when it comes to the tiers of public transportation systems, Rapid Bus Transit Line is the bottom tier, right? After an area has a rapid bus transit line, then we can be talking about rapid rail line and other forms of transit, right? But as a basic, we need a rapid bus transit line. And as Jackson County executive, that will 100% be one of my focuses on. Like, in I know it's an ambitious thing to say. A rapid bus transit line will take years to not only get approval for, but also to get funding for. But we need to start the process now. And that's why this election is so important, because we have to be thinking about the next 4 years. What do you want Jackson County to be in the next 4 years? Which is a valid question. Do you want it to be the same 4 years that we have had? Or do you want real changes to be made in government? Do you want initiatives that actually work for our residents instead of working for in the shadows? Because that's what you'll get uh, with me as Jackson County executive. I promise that I will be one of the most open Jackson County executives of all time. There'll be more community involvement, but also I promise I will investigate Jackson County government, fix our finances so it works for the residents. And if I don't do those promises, like please, like just if I become Jackson County executive, just vote me out in the next 4 years. But that's not going to happen because I'm going to do the job. And I promise that I will do the job. And one of the things too that I was telling this reporter that he was kind of shocked by is if I become Jackson County executive, I want to be one of the best Jackson County executives of all time. And he was shocked by that because he was like, what do you mean by all time? But then I told him, shouldn't every Jackson County executive have that mindset? Shouldn't any person in an occupation have that mindset? Like, for instance, me being an attorney, I would want to become the best lawyer of all the time, meaning I want to force myself to excel to be the best that I can for my occupation, right? But we don't have that standard in Jackson County or in local government anymore. But as Jackson County executive, I will strive to be the best Jackson County executive of all time with your vote because I am running for the residents. The only reason why this campaign existed is because in Hyde Park in 2019, there was so much trauma in this community with the property taxes. And when I learned that no one else was going to challenge Frank White, I decided that I would run for my community. That's why my Jackson plan is specifically centered on residents first initiatives, because we need to reestablish trust in our community, reestablish accountability in our community, but also fix our community and guide our community to the future. And that's what I will bring as Jackson County executive. So, with that said, I have a very early morning tomorrow, folks. I have to go to a lot of poll sites. I hope you guys come out to vote. I hope you guys vote for me. I hope the community chooses me to be their next Jackson County executive. And as I stated before, if I do lose this election, I'm, I'm going to accept the results, right? Because if the community wants Frank White to still be in power, then that's the community's decision. I will accept those results. But this isn't the last time that you'll see me. I will always be involved in my community. But I believe that there will be a surprise in this election because the community, they want change, and not only just any change, they want positive change for the future, which I will bring. And one thing before I leave too is I want to share with you a Chinese proverb that has helped me with this campaign. And it's also, if anybody needs inspiration, this is one of my favorite inspirational Chinese proverbs that I want to share. Where in a translated version, it would read, "You are not the flower that blooms and wilts in the next season. You are the sky that even through the toughest and most severe thunderstorms will still shine brightly the next day." And with that said, folks, have a good evening and go out to the polls tomorrow and vote for Stacey Lake. It was a pleasure, you guys. Have a great night.